Hello everyone and welcome to Clarity 16.0.2 Supportability and Feature Training. I am Vib Mehrotra, and in this topic we will be talking about the pages enhancements that's coming with 16.0.2. So what's new is that starting 16.0.2 we are now adding the capability to define canvases within the pages. This allows the end user or the administrator to have the ability to include sub-object tables as widgets in canvases, as well as we are introducing the action item widget in Canvas. We are also going to provide the ability to define the user homepage in Modern UX. The reason this is important is because in the prior release of Clarity, the home button in Modern UX always took the user to the first menu link that the user had access to. Our customers asked that if that home button could be configured to take the user to a different landing place within the Clarity Modern UX. As well as when the user logged in, they wanted that user to go to a specific page within the Modern UX. Now we will provide that capability starting 16.0.2. In addition, the customers would also create portlet pages with multiple portlets to pull in data across different investments and objects in a single place to view the data. Now using the canvas capability and widgets within those canvases, the customers can use a similar functionality in Modern UX. So let's first talk about the canvases in the pages and how you can configure them using Blueprint. So starting 16.0.2, customers can now define canvases within a page blueprint in addition to channels. Canvas can be added to any existing or new pages. And when a canvas is configured, the following things can be done within that canvas. A unique name can be given to that canvas. The admins can enable or disable the different widgets that can be configured within that canvas. The widgets that are available are the following 4 table widgets: the task, risk, issues and changes, and the new action item widget can be included within the canvas. The admin can also drag and define the order of displaying those widgets that would be available to the end user within the canvas itself. Once a canvas is configured within a blueprint, then the canvas by default will be blank. That means if any end user goes into that canvas after the admin has enabled it within a page, that canvas will appear blank. The admin will then, or the end user will then need to click on configure and can essentially look at all the widgets that are available, whether it's the 4 table widgets or the action item widget, and can drag and include those widgets in their canvas layout. This functionality is similar to the status report canvas that was introduced earlier. The widgets that can be dragged, in this case the table widgets, can be dragged multiple times within the same canvas. And if an end user drags more than once, then a counter is displayed within the widget itself to indicate how many times that specific table widget has been included in this canvas. Once the widgets have been added to the canvas, the widget layout is or can be saved using the saved view, and the widget settings, which is each individual widgets can also be individually configured, and their settings are also saved as part of the saved view within that canvas. To configure the table widgets, every table widget that is included in the canvas will have a configure button. Clicking on that configure button will open up a pop-up modal where the following changes can be done. The widget can be renamed to something that would make sense to the end user. Filters can be applied to it to trim the data down to as necessary, and then the columns that could be added to the table widget would then be listed with all the attributes that can be included. The end user can also change the layout of those columns to see the data as they would like to in their widget itself. In this release, we are also introducing the new action item widget. The action item widget that is available in the canvas itself can be included by dragging and dropping, just like the other table widgets. The action item widgets will display only the process-based actions that are assigned to the logged in user. This widget provides the capability to review and act on those process action items, and action item cards are color coded based on the action item priority. The action items widget will have 3 tabs listed in there. The first tab is the Open tab, which essentially lists all the action items that are waiting for the user to act on. The second is the Pending action, which any action that the logged in user has already acted on but is still waiting for other users to act on will be listed under Pending. And then finally, any actions that have been closed will be listed under the Closed tab. The actions that are available to the user for a given action item will also be listed along with the action item details. As in the screenshot, I can see that there is an action item that is assigned to me, and here are the actions I can take against it. If the end user, or I should say if the action item has only 3 actions that the end user can take, then all 3 of them will be listed along with the action item, and the user can click on them to act on them. If there are more than 3 actions, then the first 2 will be listed right there on the screen, and then the additional actions will be listed under the menu called More, which should be listed right here at the end. So in this example, I have more than 3 actions, so approved, rejected are the first 2, and then additional actions are listed under More. The action item will display the subject and the first 2 lines of the description. The user can then click on the action item subject to see additional information. They can see additional description. They can see the exact name of the additional users that the action might be waiting on. The action item widget will also show a number indicating how many users has this specific action item gone to that could act on this specific action item. The end user can click on any one of these action to be taken against the action item, and when they do so, a toast message will appear on top indicating what has happened to that specific action, and then that action is either moved to the Close tab or to the Pending tab, depending on what needs to be done or what should be the next step for that specific action item. If the user clicks on the Close tab, they can see their completed action items. They can expand that same action item and see what action did that specific user took. In this example, I approved this specific action, so I can see my selection was approved. The pending action items are those where the logged in user has already acted upon, but that action item is awaiting additional users to act on. This would be an example where in a stage gate that if there are 2 approvers, I require both of the approvers to approve that action item before the process can move forward. In that example, when I act on the action item, that action item will move to the Pending tab, and I can see the details of that action item, just similar to the other tabs where I can see the subject, the description. Then I can also see my selection. So in this example, I approved it, and right below it, I can see who else is the specific action item waiting on. My action that I took will also be selected in the action buttons, where the specific action would be highlighted that I clicked on. Similar to classic UI, I can still continue to act on this action item. In that case, if I wanted to change my selection, I can do so by changing my action from right here. So if I have approved this, I can click on reject it if I changed my mind, and then the reject action will be taken against this specific action item. Starting 16.0.2, we are now introducing the ability to define a home page for the end user. This definition for homepage will be done based on the user's user group assignment. The way the administrator can configure this is by going into the Modern UX administration section, and under there going into system settings. That's where they can see a new tab called homepage where this configuration can take place. Any administrators that have access to the Modern UX administration page will have access to configure this tab. After coming into this tab, the administrator can configure by adding the add page and then defining the page and the access group. By default, when the administrator comes here the very first time, they will see the first page in menu and default access group. This definition cannot be removed, and this will be the default for every user that logs into the Modern UX. This basically is the same functionality that existed prior to 16.0.2, where any user that does not have a home page configure will always land on the first tile that they have access to in the Modern UX. Upon upgrade, this would be the behavior for all end users, which is the same as it is today. Defining of this access or the home page is based on the user access groups only. To define the home page for individual users, the flow is as follows. Once coming into the system settings and home page, the administrator can click on the add button. Clicking on the add button will add a new row underneath the definition. The first column will allow the administrator to pick which page do they want the specific user group to land on. They can only pick one page. After selecting that, they can then define the access groups that should be landing on this specific page after logging into Clarity or after they click on the home page button. The administrator can define one or multiple user groups for this specific page, and once that is done, the page setting is complete and will all be listed in the home page setting page. The administrator also has the option to drag and drop the configuration to change the order of the definition. The reason the order of definition is important is because if a user belongs to multiple user group, the order of execution would always be top to bottom. That means the first user group we find going top to bottom for that specific user logging in, that will be the respective page that the user will land after logging into Clarity. The administrator also has the option to delete a predefined home page as well as make any necessary changes to the previously configured home page setting. The pages that are available to be configured in here are any one of the menu links that are available in your environment, except for the link to the classic UI. So any other link will be available to be included, plus any pages that might have been configured within the pages section of the modern UX. Any one of these pages and the menu links will be listed as the pages that can be configured. Once this configuration is done, the home page button will also take the user to that respective page. The configuration is only saved when both the page and the access group values are populated. If either one is not populated, the configuration is not saved. After the configuration is completed successfully, the user will have to re-log in to Clarity for the changes to take into effect, and the configuration change, which is the home page setting, will allow the user to land directly into their configured page, as well as clicking on the home button will take the user to their configured home page at any point. Alright, with that, let's see the product in action. So here I am in Clarity 16.0.2, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Modern UX Administration, and I am going to take you to the blueprint for pages where you can see how canvases can be enabled. So I'm in the blueprint section. I'm going to go into pages, and let's look at the personal page that is blueprint that has been defined right here. When I go into the module, I can see that there is a pre-configured canvas which has its own new icon. Selecting on it, I can see the different tabs, but let's go ahead and create a new one. So when I go into the edit mode of my blueprint, I have the buttons available. Previously I only had the new channel button. Now I have the new canvas button that is available. Clicking on that creates the new canvas that I can pretty much define for my blueprint. I can give my canvas a name, and I can see right below it are the different widgets that by default are all enabled that can be included in my canvas. I can reorder these as I would like. So maybe I would want the action item to be the first, and I can do that by just simply dragging and dropping. So for this specific canvas, the action item widget will be listed right on top. I can also disable some of these. So maybe if I don't want the user that's going to have this specific page configuration not to create any changes and issues widgets underneath here. And that's all that I can do in my blueprint itself. I can go ahead and maybe drag this to be second in the order, and I can then go ahead and publish this. If I go look at my page instance that has this blueprint configured with it, I can see there is the canvases that have been predefined. So I'm going to go into the My Demo, and as you can see by default, this canvas is completely blank. I can configure it by clicking on the Configure button, and notice that only the 3 widgets that I enabled in my canvas are available to me. The 3 widgets are also in the order that I defined, which means action item is right first on the list. To add them to my canvas is as simple as just dragging and dropping. I can change the layout. Maybe I would want the task at the bottom of this. I can expand it. And once done so, I can just click on the Done button. Also notice, because I added only one task widget in here, the counter is set to 1. If I was to drag the same one again at the bottom right here, the count went to 2. So now I have 2 of these available. I can click on Done, and the widgets are now added to my canvas itself. To configure a table widget, as you hover over that specific widget itself, the new configure button for that widget is there. So each widget has its own configure. Clicking on it will open up the model where I can now define the information. I can give my widget a name, and I can add any columns that I would want to see the information in here. All the task attributes are listed right here. I can search them by name. I can change the order for them. I can also apply any filter that I would want for this specific widgets. And once I've done with my configuration, I can click on done. I can do the same thing for the second, and I can ask it to show me a different types or list of tasks that I would like to see. I could go through the same type of setting, but let's look at a pre-configured one that has exactly the same data. Now that I know how I can configure my canvas, I can include the widgets, I can configure an individual table widget inside of it. Let's look at a pre-configured one, which is the personal dashboard that is pre-created. So in this example, I have the action items. I have two task widgets. The first one tells me my task for this week, and then any upcoming tasks that are there that are coming in the future. I also have risk, issues, and changes. Each one of these have been configured, as you can see, have different columns because each one of these have been configured to show the data as I need to. Whatever configuration I have in the specific canvas layout is saved as part of the view. And if I have a different view, I can easily flip between. So in this case, I have a second view called My Work, where the action item is expanded more and I can see more data. And I can only just see my upcoming tasks. So only two widgets are added. And I can just go back to the default and I see all the other widgets available. So the configuration for the widget layout and the configuration for each individual widgets are saved as part of the view itself. Next, I am going to also show that the data within each one of these widgets are editable. I can double click on any one of this and change the values. In this case, I can assign this to Nicole from Paul. I can also act on any one of these other tasks. So I could complete them from here if I wanted to. So each one of these widgets are editable that I can act on them from my widget itself. All right. As you've already must have seen, I have included my action item widgets in here. In this action item widgets, I have the three tabs that I had mentioned, the open, pending, and close. In the open, I see that there are three action items that are waiting for me to act on. In the pending would be any action that is I have already acted on but is waiting on others, and closed are previously acted on action items and what the actual action was. So in this case, I have acted on two of them. I can click on the subject line and I can see that it was also sent to additional resources, and my selection was that I rejected this specific action item. If I go to open, I see the other action items that are available. I can act on any. So in this case, I have three actions available to me. I can pick on any one of those three. In the first one, there are only two available to me. So let's first look at the one where I can act on, but it requires other people to also act on, which is the strategic approval that is required. The strategy is the Asian market expansion, and I have all the information. Along with, I can see that this requires 4 people to act on, and I am one of the 4 approvers. The count 4 tells me that, and hovering over the reviewers gives me the full name. I can click on the expand, and it again gives me the same full detail listed here, and so far I have not acted on it. So let's go ahead and click on approve to act on the specific one. A toast message pops up, tells me that I have approved it. That action item has disappeared from my open, and if I go to pending, it is now listed under the pending tab. The same information is available here. I can expand it. I can see that I approved it. The approved button is highlighted, and it is waiting on additional people to act on. If at this point I decide to change my mind and I want to change my action, then I can just do so by clicking on reject it. It makes the change, and the specific item is rejected. If I navigate away and come back, it is removed from here, and now it moves to the closed tab. Same thing, if I want to act on the other one, I can just click on approve, and it goes away from my open and comes in that I have approved the other action item. Next, let's go look at how to configure the home page of individual user groups. To do that, I am going to go into the administration. Under administration, I'm going to go into the system settings, and I can see the new home page tab. Under here, I have pre-configured a few different pages along with their access groups. I can see that hierarchies is the default landing page for executives and executive viewer. Project is the default landing page for project managers, and for staffing, it is the staffing is the default landing page for resource manager, and so on. If I wanted to configure a new one for the individual team members, I can do so by clicking on the add page, and I want those to go to their personal setting, which is the page that we were just on that had all the action items that somebody could act on. So personal page, and I want this to go to the team members. I can easily search. PMO team members is the user group that I want to pick. And now you can see that it turned from yellow to just white background. That means this configuration is saved. To see how this settings will work, I'm going to log out and then re-log in to see that change into place. And after logging in, it took me to the personal page because I am in the team member group, and that is the first in the order of displaying in the home page. So I land directly into the personal dashboard where I can see my action items, I can see my tasks, and so on. If I navigate away to somewhere else in the application, and if I want to go back to my home page, I can do so by simply clicking on the home button, and it'll take me to my dashboard. This concludes this section. Thank you, everyone.